bleeding them well. And Ray was like, no, you've got to like, because she sat on one meeting, I'll be honest, and she was like, it was great. It was so fluffy. And I was like, what do you mean it's fluffy? It wasn't. Welcome back to the Identity Human podcast with your host, Don. Okay, so first of all, I'm in the office. Second of all, I'll explain why. Third of all, I'm excited to be back and ready to get going again. So I know that it is currently the 10th of April, and we haven't recorded, I think, since end of November, beginning of December. So it's been about a 4-ish month break that I've taken from the podcast. And to be honest, there's no real reason. I think one of the best bits of advice that you hear people going around is like, listen to the energy, just go with the flow, don't ever force things. I think sometimes, I stopped because I was like, actually, I know that the episodes when I talk, just to be honest with you, I'm talking a lot for myself because I like learning when I talk. But I know that there's some people that love listening to that because they get the insight, and because I'm learning as I go, you can learn with me. But I think for like 4 months, I've just been like, you know what? I don't know if I have anything necessarily that I need to reflect or big insights. But I've also been enjoying taking action and being what's in front of me and wrestling with a lot of like this word clarity, like wrestling with that. And I mean wrestling because when you get excited and you can see how everything connects, it's really hard to go, actually, I'm not going to worry about any of those and just get clear on this. But I know that that's what I need to do. So I've really been wrestling with what's the way forward. I've had an urge inside of me, like a feeling to like reignite what I was doing at the Gaming Athlete. Not necessarily reigniting the Gaming Athlete per se, but the principle or the structures of what I was doing within that. There's just like, I get so excited about it. And I was thinking like, do you know what? If I look back, and maybe this is a good thing for us to do, is like, if you look back and recognize, since maybe you started listening to this podcast, or if you've only listened to this now, like when you started any form of self-development, or just, let's put the word self-development aside and look at like self-alignment, because that's what you're trying to do, right? You're not actually developing anything. What you're doing is you're just bringing yourself closer to who you are. And when you bring yourself closer to who you are, you've performed better. That's it. So it's almost, but then obviously there is development in there. So I'm just being nuanced. So I think I've looked back and I got the Gaming Athlete and I really got excited by it. Like it really did something inside of me that was like, yeah. So that's why I was able to, even though I was scared as hell and I didn't want to put myself out there and I had so many like blocks, I still put myself on camera on YouTube and was like, this is the vision, this is what I'm doing. I was like completely out of my depth. I realized it. I love like looking back now, it's so funny. If you think about like, I'm going to go global, we're going to have this and that. But I fully believed that I could do it, and I still do. I just don't think I realized the necessarily smaller detail that I needed to take. And that brings me around to like recently, I've been having this thing that's like, right, Identity Human, you've got this cool brand, because the brand's got to be cool for people to want to wear it first and foremost, because if they don't need a deeper meaning, they need it to be aesthetically pleasing. And I'm hoping that it does do something for a few people, because I love the triangle. And obviously there's a lot of symbolism behind it. I've been wearing this custom hoodie I got made for Gaming Athlete. It has like so many functional elements to it that when I look at it and I've been wearing, I'm like, oh, I did really well with that. I was really proud of it. I don't think at the time I was, though. I think this is maybe just the first insight, is it's maybe hard for you to be proud of something in the moment, especially if you haven't learned to be proud of yourself, and if you're always critical. And I think at that stage I was always critical. Nothing was ever good enough. And don't get me wrong. So let's not go down the route of, this is a trauma pattern or it's a personality thing and we need to develop that out of you. I don't think it's that. I think what we have to do is realize that we have to understand what's the duality of nothing's ever good enough. It's actually, you've got the ability to keep going, because think about it in a different way. If something was good enough, and this is what humans tend to do, I've reached where I needed to be, it's good enough, we're going to stop, right? There's that drive is going to go away, the motivation is going to go away. you'll keep going. But if you've got something in you that goes, that's not quite good enough, let's just keep going. Or it's not good enough, let's keep going. Obviously, the inner voices that we need to work on. But if you change that negative into a positive, that it's actually, do you know what? It isn't good enough, but I love what it is right now, and I know where I'm going. And that's so it's like there's a knife. I've been using this analogy a lot, like, or a hammer, Thor's hammer, right? I've got Thor's hammer in my hand and I'm spinning it because it's a fidget toy. Is if you pick up any hammer and you can beat someone to death with a hammer, murder weapon, or you can build a tree house, you can build a house, you can pull a nail out, you can nail a nail in, and then you're creating something incredible. But what we don't realize is the hammer is the tool. The hammer is what we decide to do with that hammer is what makes it useful or destructive. And I think that analogy is the same for whatever you recognize in yourself as, and I'm going to put it in inverted commas, trauma pattern, because I don't want to buy into that it's trauma that we need to get rid of. That's the whole point. It's recognize that it's in you and it's a tool. And if you can look at the negative that you see in it, as in like, oh, it's never good enough. What's the other side of it? The other side of never being good enough is you can be ambitious, you can be driven, but you've got to learn to swing the positive narrative behind that so it makes you feel good. And that's where I think learning to have self-trust and learn to have a little bit like being able to be proud of yourself starts to make the hammer a creator instead of a murder weapon. And so I hope you're still staying with me on this. Is like, if you've got, so I'll bring it back to me. If I look at what's started to happen recently within myself, and I've never had this before, and this is why it gets interesting. And this is why I'd say, like, if you're going to do self-development and if you want to do the 5-day challenge or even look at the Unshakable course, like genuinely, hand on heart, it's the first maybe time where I've gone from 90% sure that it definitely does something to 100% sure that it'll do something, but I can't describe it because it's so personal. Like, how do you describe a feeling? Like, even green, how do you describe green to someone? You can't, but you know when you see it, you know what it feels like, perhaps. So, and it's the same for feelings. And I've had a few people recently that I've worked with and helped, and they go, Don, I can't quite explain it. You can see their face lights up, their energy goes, their whole body does something. And I go, stop. Don't try and explain it. The whole point of this journey is to feel it without having to explain it. And then you'll start to then go with that feeling. And that's the whole point, is you start to trust yourself. And within myself, why I recognize that is like, I've started to do things. And when I do them well, something in me goes, I'm proud of that. And I'm like, I literally, where's that come from? Like, I've not had that before. That's not a thing that I've had. So you would stereotypically have said, if you knew me, you'd be like, oh, Don's super humble. What a nice guy. And all that. But actually, if you think about it, that flip side of being super humble is the fact that you don't want to accept a compliment. So you come across as humble, but actually it's like, I don't know if you can't acknowledge the value that you add. And so when you have I'll talk about me. When I've got that inner voice that goes, I'm proud of myself, maybe it's because I'm starting to realize starting to actually accept, not just realize, accept the value that I add. And I think that's a major work on for all of us that tend to be super humble, or not super humble, even just humble and falsely humble. Like it is actually a false humbleness. You're not humble at all, because I reckon if you define humble is when you realize the effect that you can have, but you don't really want the reward for it. Whereas I don't think what I had was humble. I think what it was lack of recognizing the effect that I had. Again, is that a bad or a good thing? I don't know. All I know is the way I'm describing what I see now is how I feel, and that's important. We're all on a journey, and I love it. So that pride's probably a key word here. Like, I'm feeling a lot of pride in the things that I'm doing. So when I look back, I used to look back at Gaming Athlete, for example, and be super ashamed. Genuinely, when I look back, I'm like, wasted money. I can't believe I sat on meetings for 2 hours and they felt great. Like, everyone was like, oh, I love that meeting. But then Ray would come along and be like, what are the actions? I'm like, what do you mean the actions? We felt great. And she was like, yeah, but you need to be doing, and I knew nothing about business at that stage. So I was like, yeah, but I've had a meeting. I've given them the concept and the vision. Now they must go and, like, surely people must just understand what they've got to do. And I didn't even have to understand what I needed to do. So I was not leading them well. And Ray was like, no, you've got to like, because she sat on one meeting, I'll be honest, and she was like, it was great. It was so fluffy. And I was like, what do you mean it's fluffy? Like, it wasn't fluffy. It was great. Like, we were inspired. We were talking. We were excited. And she's like, yeah, but we didn't achieve anything. And I was like, you don't know what you're talking about. That's at that stage. Now, when I sit in meetings and people are and I'm like, guys, come on, like, we're spending 3 hours in a meeting that could take 30 minutes. And because they're clients, I have to observe so I can give observations later. But I'm like, okay, I see it now. So, but that's one example. Like when I look back at gas maybe a year or two ago, I wouldn't want to talk about it as a failure. Even though I took responsibility, bought a leadership business, I was like, if I'm going to lead a business, I need to know how to lead businesses. I need to learn. I need to see how other people do it. That's the whole point of the journey of buying the leadership business. And so now when I look back at Gaming Athlete, I can laugh at some of the things I did because I'm talking about them. But I'm also not ashamed anymore, or I don't feel guilty. I'm just like, oh, I'm frustrated because I'm like, I had something really good. And the answers were right there and I just couldn't see them. So now when I'm looking at Identity Human and I'm like, oh, should we start some branding around it? Because I love the ability to visibly connect with people. And what I mean by that, if you think about this, I'm gonna back and forth with you guys here, and you can give me feedback if you're listening to it. If this is the first time, please comment, please reply to the emails. Like, I genuinely, it's really important at this stage. Is when I had gas, I sold caps. Obviously, I love caps. So there was a logo on the front, the gas logo. And I had a mate buy it, and then I had someone on the stream buy it, and they were obviously UK-based people. And my mate went to Cornwall, and he said, Don, you'll never believe it. We were all walking along the beach or along the harbour, and we saw someone else with a gas cap, and we acknowledged each other, and I was like, oh, the gas cap. And I was like, isn't that amazing how you can create connection because of belonging to a brand or liking a brand? And one of my biggest things is, how do we get people to connect? Like, not everyone can make it to a retreat or an event, and we're so global and reachable, but we're so unreachable because we just live in our own worlds and we think that a screen is the same as connecting. But actually, what I wanted to do was, can you imagine walking with a cap, a hoodie, socks, and they have the logo on it? And the logo can be different colors. I've always thought that it's got to be something that you like, because it's the structure of the triangle that I really want us to buy into, and maybe come the patterns. Color can change. But you're walking along and you see someone else wearing it. You know immediately what they buy into, like similar sort of values. And what I mean by that is, like, that person's going to be ambitious. They're going to have some self-development things that they're going after, because aligning with Identity Human, you've got the Unshakable course, you've got the challenges that we do. It's just about how you be a better human being. But actually, the brand is about how we connect. Because if you didn't realize, and if you've been through the course and you understand this, or you're feeling it, or if you haven't, what I try and help, I say we, because it is a we, is you have to learn, if you want to connect with others, you have to be able to connect with yourself first. And if you can't connect with yourself, you're going to struggle to connect with others. So we have to learn that for ourselves. That the whole thing of learn to lead yourself before you lead others, it's so true, but we don't know what that means because we haven't learned to lead ourselves. We don't know what we're missing. You don't know what you don't know. So the whole point of learning to lead yourself before you lead others, what you do in the dark, it's like how much prep you do in the dark is what you show in the light. So if you use a rugby analogy, is every game that you see is backed up by hundreds of hours of practice of those lineouts, of those moves. And there's years of someone doing rugby training drills at different levels and different teams at different ages to get to that point where they can do that lineout. So that's what you see in the light, but you don't see in the dark. So for me, that Identity Human represents that same thing. It's like, it's, you know, that person works on themselves in the dark. They may not be the perfect picture. They may be at a completely different level of their journey. But the point is they buy into it. And then we can start to recognize, acknowledge, and encourage. And this is probably where it came from. I hope you're staying with me on this. I did my bike driver's test 2 years ago. I know it was 2 years ago because I got a CBT notification saying that not CBT, yeah, it is CBT. We'll just go with it. Basically, your learner's license for a bike, and it's saying it's expiring after 2 years. I don't have to worry about that because I passed my test. Hey. But when you're driving your test and you're doing your practice runs, every biker that you go past, because obviously they can't put their hand up and wave, they just tip their helmet. And I can't explain to you, but I didn't have to know them, know what their life story was, but we connected. And I felt part of it because everyone was tipping their head, and I was like tipping my head. And sometimes I'd forget and nod it forward, and I'd be like, "Hey, what do we? Which way do we do?" But the point is, it was that acknowledgement that, like, "Yo, bro, what's up? How are you doing?" And imagine being able to go to the shops and you're able to connect with someone just on that. So if you go and do this test, go and walk around shops now and look at how many people don't know how to connect with you. Or it's that awkward, that smile and how you doing? Or they're on their phones, like even walking to the shops, or like the worst thing is like going for a walk in nature, and you can be on your own. Someone else is on their own and they'll walk past head down. Now I get it, don't get me wrong. I know that some people are going through stuff and you have to be in your zone, but imagine being able to create a recognition that almost gives you permission to go, I know this person wants to engage and talk because they wear that brand and they want to be recognized, they want to connect, and they want to be seen. That identity human branding is what I want that to represent. So that's where I get excited. I'm like, what? But then help me talk here, help me think here. Yeah, like, what's the mission? What's the vision? Like, I know the vision is, let's say it's globally connecting people. Like, the mission is to make 10 million people feel connected. Underneath all of that, there's building your own leadership, self-trust, self-love, how you interact with family, friends, people, how we just actually start to be good people. I know, what does that even mean? You have to learn how to love. And I don't mean be nice. I mean what love actually is. Love isn't a nice thing. Love actually means that you stand with someone when they're going through a horrible time and you are willing to piss them off to get them through what they're going through to where they need to be. I always think the Walk the Line movie with Johnny Cash, and when he's on his drugs and he's throwing his family and what does his family do? They go and get him and they put him in a log cabin and they stand at the door with a shotgun. He doesn't necessarily want to be there. He wants to go back and do his drugs. People want to come in, but the family stands there because they know what's right for him. Right? And that's where you got to be careful. Is the difference between love and control, right? There's a huge responsibility that comes with knowing how to love someone. I think that's what we've got to realize. So responsibilities may be something I did want to speak about, but there'll definitely be a future episode on this. But I do think that we need to start to realize how much responsibility we already have. And if you're a parent, you chose to have kids, that's a responsibility. And if you don't work on your character, then it's not your kids that are going to be, that you can look at and be like, oh, my kid's just naughty, or my kid, where you're taking no responsibilities. You've got a responsibility to work on yourself for your kids. If you're not working on yourself and you come up with excuses and reasons and rhymes and all that kind of stuff, you're only going to let them down and you're going to let yourself down, because you are their guide. They will be what they will be. And you either are not doing the work that you need to on yourself, you'll condition them into something that shouldn't be, and they'll have to work on that later. And then they'll come back to look and be like, why did you do that? Why didn't you just see this? Or they'll be like, I love you. You did the best you could. But boy, you left me with a lot of stuff to deal with. I've got to uncondition myself a lot. So I think maybe one of the takeaways today is think about the responsibility that you've got with the life you've created. And instead of going, oh, I've got to do this, oh, I've got to do this, just try and think like, yes, I get to do this. It's my responsibility. I love it. And like, do a 30 days no complaining challenge. I'll do that with you. Because I think sometimes we don't question our own inner narrative, and the little complaints over silly things end up making things a lot bigger than they need to be, and they just steal joy from life. So if you learn to complain and you keep complaining, like genuinely think about the people that are drains, energy drains, when you hang out with us, like they just complain about this, they complain about that, they complain about anything. But if you were to do a 30-day no complaining challenge, where would that leave you in 30 days time? And if immediately you go, oh, but I can't do that because there's this, like, that's the problem. You're not taking responsibility. You don't have to complain about anything, because it goes into gratitude. It helps you be grateful. So if you wake up in the morning and go, I've got nothing to be grateful for, it's like, it depends on the scale of which you're looking at. So, if you can see, you literally have a reason to be grateful, because some people can't see. Now, it's not that we are saying life doesn't go bad and we don't have our challenges. We have to accept that certain things exist. Like so currently you're struggling with finance, for example, because I think that's a big one. We're not going, it's fine, I don't have the finance troubles. You've got them, but you can still be grateful for what you do have, because when you can put yourself into the mental states of being grateful for what you do have, there is a way that you will find solutions. You'll find solutions to the problems you've got. You'll rise to the challenges. But if you can't find that gratitude, if you can't find that perspective, you will always think that the problem you have is the only problem that there is, and that the world's coming to an end, or your world is coming to an end. So what you've got to do is recognize that when a wall is there, we don't have to climb that wall. We can step to the side, because it's not the Great Wall of China. And even if it is, it just means you got to walk for longer. Step aside, get around, or learn how to climb the wall. Either way, you're taking responsibility for saying that that wall's in front of me and I don't want it in front of me. So how do we move aside to it? And that's what I think if you can do a 30-day no complaining challenge, you'll start to see yourself sidestepping walls, climbing over them and getting through them. And then you start to realize you're building a castle, and then your castle is your home. And then you realize how much you enjoy being where you are. Once that's built, you go, who can I hand this castle off to? I want to go build another one. And that's it. That's like the journey of life. I was watching a Tony Robbins thing last night, and he was like, when you're in your comfort zone, you got a problem. It's outside your comfort zone. You deal with it. That grows your comfort zone. But if you don't deal with it, you just don't go anywhere. And by the way, once you solve that problem, there's another problem that goes outside your next comfort zone. And like every scale of life that you have has problems. So it's not that we want to get rid of problems. It's we want to learn how to deal with problems and know that wherever we go, you'll have a problem. The point is, if you can change a problem into a challenge or a learn, you change life into a game. And if life becomes a game, it just means you're able to move through issues quicker. So yeah, like that's where I'm trying to get myself to. So obviously, as I talk, I'm hoping it's reflecting something in you that allows you to go, actually, yeah, I like that. I didn't think about that before. So we've gotten to 22 minutes, and I'm going to cut it there, because I think there's lots that I want to talk about. I wanted to update you guys on, so we've done thinking and responsibility, acceptance of identity, the importance of action, went a trip to South Africa, what's happening in business world, which kind of said what I'm getting drawn to with Identity Human. Talking about social media and just my thoughts around it at the moment. I want to do some more public speaking. Something's calling me into that at the moment. That's what I'm going to chase. I'm meeting up with a few people. And then being primed to execute. I think from a high performance perspective, this is something that's taking me a while to see as a narrative. No one's told it to me. But are you priming yourself to execute? And that's where I think I've spent the last 3 years trying to do, is like prime yourself to execute by practicing and putting the right things in place. But we'll talk about that in a future episode. I've got the notes. If any of those appeal to and you want them straight away, please do put a comment, reply to an email, and we'll get them going. Okay. Thank you very much for listening. I appreciate you. Have a super day. And remember, the sign off is the same as always. Ubuntu, we are who we are through others. So I'll work on me for you if you can work on you for me. Because I am who I am because of who you are. You are who you are because of me. Which means, remember, if I am who I am because of you, then all I need you to do is work on yourself and I shall be better. And if you don't believe me, try it. See what happens. See what happens to people around you. Even if you don't interact with me, it's not about me. It's a metaphor. Okay. Have a great day. Bye.